Animals are a gift from God. They are entrusted to us to help, to love, and to teach us the purest meaning of loyalty and compassion. When an animal loves us, its affection is pure, steadfast, and eternal. But what happens after death? Is it truly the end? Or is there something far greater waiting for us? I invite you to listen to the end of the following letter to discover the answer. The author of this letter is a man who had a near-death experience, during which his soul was brought into a sacred reality, a place where he witnessed his beloved dog, whom he had not seen for many years since the tragic accident. Before we enter this story, I invite you to leave your name and the city where you are living. We would love to lift you up in prayer before God and ask Him to remember you in His divine plan. If the words you are about to hear touch your heart, please consider expressing your support by clicking Super Thanks. Planting a seed of faith into God's eternal kingdom, whatever you give, God will return to you many times over. And if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, we warmly invite you to do so today. Let us walk together in the light and truth of the Savior. Now, let us listen to his testimony. My name is Louise. I am 55 years old and I live in a small, peaceful town called Holland, located in the state of Michigan. From the outside looking in, my life might have seemed ordinary, even serene. But 2 years ago, everything I knew and loved was ripped away from me in the most brutal way imaginable, leaving me adrift in a vast emptiness I could neither escape nor fill. My wife, Aurora, my life partner, my confidant, my soulmate, was taken from me far too suddenly. One day she showed only a few vague, seemingly harmless symptoms, and almost overnight she was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of cancer. We had no time to prepare emotionally, no chance to cling to hope or pray for miracles. Within a few short months, the disease had stolen her from my arms, leaving behind a silence so profound that it felt as if the entire world had paused its breath in mourning, trapped in a sorrow too deep for words. Life after her departure became nothing more than an endless repetition of hollow days. I would spend entire afternoons sitting motionless in front of the television, staring blankly at programs I didn't even care about, simply trying to kill the time. I only ventured outside when absolutely necessary to buy groceries or fulfill basic needs, and even those small tasks began to feel unbearable. Everything lost its meaning. The sky seemed to lose its blue. Every sound around me seemed drained of life and color, as if even nature itself was mourning with me. I had lost my mother to cancer years earlier, a wound so painful that it took me years to heal. But this was different. This time, I knew with devastating certainty, there would be no healing. The emptiness Aurora left behind was not a wound that time could mend. It was a permanent void, an unfillable absence, as if part of my very soul had been torn away the moment she left this world. Aurora had not simply been my wife, she had been the light of our little home, the gentle hand that transformed every corner of our house into a sanctuary of warmth and life. She loved every small detail of our home, from the paintings she carefully chose for the walls to the small garden where she tended wild daisies with quiet devotion. She cooked not merely with skill, but with love, infusing every meal she placed on the table with the tender affection she carried for our little family. When Aurora was alive, every day carried meaning. Even in the simplest of moments, sipping tea together in the quiet of the morning, reading side by side during rainy nights, laughing over shared memories. Now, those once cherished moments remained only as painful echoes, cruel reminders of everything I had lost and everything I would never regain. I drifted through the days with no purpose, no hope, no goal, just a silent ache that filled every empty room, every silent morning, every long night. I was like a small boat adrift on an endless, directionless sea, battered by invisible storms, cut off from every familiar shore. One day, everything changed. It was a cold afternoon when I was returning from the grocery store, and I noticed a cardboard box sitting near the trash bins. I didn't pay much attention at first, until a faint whimper made me stop. I walked over and found a tiny puppy inside. It was skin and bones, trembling, its eyes clouded with hunger and cold. I looked around, but there was no one. Someone had abandoned it, left it to die alone. I had never been particularly fond of animals, nor had I ever intended to raise one in my home. But at that moment, I couldn't turn away. Hesitantly, I picked it up, wrapped it in my coat, and brought it home. I planned to nurse it back to health, then take it to a shelter. That was my original intention. At first, the puppy was nothing like the image of a companion one would hope for. It was hyperactive, noisy, and completely chaotic. It broke things, ran around uncontrollably, and every attempt at training ended in utter failure. My frustration grew with each day. Already crushed under the weight of my own grief, I now found myself drowning in a new chaos. I couldn't see any value in it. To me, it was just another burden added to an already difficult life. The house, once quiet and empty, now echoed with its barking. Every ignored command, every mischievous act made me feel increasingly overwhelmed. But amid the chaos, I began to sense something strange. The puppy wasn't just a problem. It seemed to be trying to tell me something. There was an intensity in its eyes, a persistence in its gestures, as if it had appeared for a purpose far greater than I could yet understand. Weeks passed, and as it gradually regained its strength, something inside me began to change as well. Each day I witnessed its transformation. Its body grew stronger, its eyes began to shine, and it was as if a part of me, a part I thought had long died, was stirring back to life. The walls of pain imprisoning me began to crack, as if that tiny, energetic creature was slowly prying open a narrow fissure in my heart. That was when I decided to name it. It couldn't just be any name, because by then I felt its presence carried a deeper significance. I named it Noah, like the patriarch who survived the great flood to bring forth new life. Because, perhaps without even realizing it, I too was beginning to survive my own personal flood, and Noah was my ark. As my life slowly began to feel worth living again, as I rediscovered the small, peaceful moments and learned to appreciate the simple things, everything suddenly changed. In a single moment, in the blink of an eye, my life, and Noah's, would be forever turned upside down. It was a beautiful day, with the sun shining brightly overhead and a light breeze making the air perfect for a walk. Noah and I were strolling along the sidewalk, enjoying the afternoon. Nothing warned us of the tragedy about to unfold. As we approached a crosswalk, I stopped at the painted stripes for pedestrians. A car slowed down and came to a halt to let us pass. After a quick glance to either side, I stepped forward, with Noah trotting just a little ahead of me. Then, suddenly, the roar of two engines shattered the calm. Two cars burst out from behind the stopped vehicle, racing at insane speed. They were drag racing, reckless and blind to the fact that a human and an innocent creature were right in front of them. Time seemed to slow. My breath caught. My heart froze. I saw the headlights charging toward us with terrifying speed. I screamed Noah's name, yanking at the leash to pull him back. Too late. A loud crash exploded into the air, a brutal impact. Noah was struck head-on. The leash in my hand was yanked violently, dragging me along. My body was lifted off the ground, suspended in a moment that felt endless, before slamming into the pavement with devastating force. My head hit the curb hard, and then, nothing, only darkness, deep, absolute darkness. I found myself suspended in a vast darkness. Not cold, not frightening, simply an endless void where there was no pain, no fear, only a deep, echoing emptiness and the sensation of floating weightlessly between worlds. Then, ever so slowly, a warm light began to break through the shadows, not descending from above, but welling up from within, like a hidden ember rekindling to life. The warmth of it touched every part of me, reaching even the most wounded corners of my heart, and then I saw him. Before me stood a figure of indescribable majesty and gentleness, a presence so overwhelming yet so tender that it brought tears to my eyes. It was Jesus. He was clothed in a robe that shimmered like woven light, each thread seeming to pulse with the very essence of life itself. Around him, a soft, golden radiance formed a living halo, not harsh or blinding, but gentle and embracing, like the first light of dawn after a long night of sorrow. His face shone with a beauty beyond earthly description, timeless, strong, yet infinitely kind. His eyes, deep and fathomless, were filled with a compassion so pure that one could drown in it and be healed. When he looked at me, it was as though he saw not just the person I was, but every hurt I had ever carried, every prayer I had ever whispered in the dark. His gaze was not judging, but welcoming, reaching into the very fabric of my being and calling me home. "Louise." His voice spoke, a sound more comforting than any melody. "Do not be afraid. You are here for a purpose greater than anything you can imagine." Each word he spoke wrapped around my soul like a healing balm. Instantly, the crushing weight I had borne for so long, grief, loneliness, regret, lifted from me. Peace, unlike anything on earth, flooded through me, filling every crack and hollow place within. In his presence, even the memory of pain dissolved. Jesus took a step closer, his movements both regal and humble, and his expression deepened with an understanding that transcended words. "There is something you need to know, something that concerns both you and Noah," he said softly, as if drawing back the veil between two worlds. As he spoke, his voice vibrated through me, reaching places within my spirit that I hadn't even known were broken. It was not just hearing, it was experiencing his truth, living inside his words. Jesus' eyes, bright and all-knowing, never left mine. "Noah was sent to you for this very reason. The day you found him in the box, trembling and forsaken, it was not by chance." A shiver ran through me. My mind replayed the vivid memory, the cardboard box, abandoned by the roadside, the tiny, frail body curled within it, a life so close to extinguishing. His suffering had mirrored mine. Torn from family, betrayed, abandoned, teetering at the brink of death without hope. Jesus extended his hand slightly, a gesture so tender it nearly unraveled me. "You and Noah are two wounded souls who found each other," he said. "His pain is your pain, his confusion is your confusion. But through your brokenness, you chose each other." Tears blurred my vision. It was true. I hadn't merely rescued Noah from death. He had rescued me from a slow, invisible dying of the heart. Jesus' voice softened even further, becoming almost a whisper of divine intimacy. "Have you ever wondered why Noah understands you so deeply?" His question touched a sacred place inside me. Countless nights came rushing back, the nights when grief gnawed at me most cruelly, when Aurora's absence seemed too great a wound to bear. On those nights when words failed and only silent anguish remained, Noah had been there. He would lift his gaze to meet mine, no demands, no conditions, and gently lay his muzzle on my trembling hand, anchoring me with a love so simple, so complete. In that moment, under the boundless light of his presence, I understood. Noah had been a gift, a divine thread woven into my life by the very hands of God, not merely to ease my sorrow, but to teach me that even in the deepest valleys of despair, love would find a way. Gigi smiled, a smile so full of kindness that it went beyond anything words could capture. "The bond you formed with Noah is deeper than you ever realized, Louise," he said gently. "It is not merely the affection between a human and her dog. It is the sacred bond between two broken souls. Two souls who recognized each other, understood each other, and healed each other through the silent presence of love." Tears rolled silently down my cheeks. I bowed my head and choked out, "Lord, I never thought animals could play such a profound role. To me, they were just adorable creatures that humans learned to cherish, nothing more." Jesus gently shook his head, his gaze not reproachful, but filled with deep understanding. "No, Louise, animals are not just that. They are gifts from God, given to humanity as instruments of love, patience, and healing. When a soul is lost, when pain, loneliness, or despair becomes too overwhelming, my Father often sends angels. But angels do not always appear with white wings and radiant halos. Sometimes they come in simple, humble forms you would never expect, like a frail puppy, a stray cat, or even a tiny bird resting on a doorstep. I closed my eyes, letting his every word sink deep into my heart. Noah, that little creature, was not just a random dog I happened to rescue. He was a messenger, an angel sent to rescue my soul at the moment of my deepest despair, when no human hand could reach the silent agony that was drowning me. "Oh Lord," I whispered, my heart swelling with emotion, "why does it seem that animals can feel human pain even more deeply than our own kind?" The gaze of Jesus grew intense and radiant, as if he wanted to etch every word he was about to say into my soul. "Louise, listen carefully. Animals do not have souls like humans. They are not bound by responsibility or judgment, because they do not sin, nor do they choose between good and evil. But they do have a spirit, a pure spark of life, a fragment of light from God himself, infused into every cell of their being. And nothing from God is ever wasted or lost. Any creature that carries the breath of life reflects a portion of my Father's kindness, faithfulness, and presence." I opened my eyes, looking straight at Jesus, and in that moment I understood. The love that Noah had for me was not accidental. It was a divine heartbeat, woven by the endless mercy of God to rescue a soul sinking deep into despair. My soul. Jesus reached out his hand, and instantly, before my eyes, a breathtaking vision began to unfold. A land unlike anything my heart had ever dared to imagine. It was a realm overflowing with life, where the very air shimmered with purity, carrying a fragrance sweeter than any flower on earth. The rivers gleamed like liquid crystal, winding gracefully through endless meadows that stretched farther than sight could reach, each blade of grass sparkling as if kissed by 1,000 tiny stars. Above it all, the sky arched in an infinite expanse of perfect blue, deeper and more alive than any sky I had ever seen, illuminated by a light that seemed to come not from a sun, but from the very heart of God himself. Across the vast fields, countless creatures moved in vibrant harmony. Birds of every color soared in jubilant patterns through the skies, their songs blending into an ethereal symphony. I saw animals that once would have been mortal enemies, now living side by side. Wolves resting tenderly beside lambs, mighty lions sprawled in peaceful slumber next to small laughing children who ran their hands through their golden manes. Herds of majestic horses galloped across the rolling hills, their manes streaming behind them like rivers of molten honey, stirring up the air in a dance of joy. There was no fear, no growl of hunger, no instinct to hunt or flee. Only the sweet and timeless peace that God had intended for all his creatures since the very beginning of creation. The earth itself seemed to breathe in rhythm with the lives upon it, each tree, each flower, each breeze adding its voice to a silent chorus of worship and delight. Then, amid this living tapestry of divine joy, my eyes fell upon a figure that made my heart leap. It was Noah. He was there, and he was more radiant than I had ever known him to be. His body, once worn and burdened by pain, now moved with effortless grace. He ran freely, as if every chain of weakness and sorrow had been forever broken. His fur shone with a light from within, and his eyes, oh, his eyes! They gleamed like twin stars reflecting a river at twilight, carrying no trace of the fear, sadness, or struggle he had once endured. They shone only with pure, boundless joy. I stood frozen, the reality of it sinking deep into my soul. Noah was searching for me. Among thousands upon thousands of creatures, that small but mighty spirit still remembered, still longed, still waited. In this new world, a world where no tear would ever fall again, where no goodbye would ever be uttered. Noah was waiting for the day when my journey on earth would end, and we would be together once more, never to part again. A wave of emotion washed over me, too vast to contain. Longing, hope, uncontainable joy, all woven together into a single sacred truth whispered into the depths of my spirit. Nothing is forgotten in the love of God. No act of love, no life, no soul, however small, is ever lost or abandoned in his eternal heart. Everything and everyone is held, cherished, and awaited. For after showing me Noah, Jesus opened another vision before me, one that tightened my heart. I was led to another place in the realm of light, a quiet valley where the light was gentler and the atmosphere was soaked in a tender sorrow. There I saw countless small creatures gathered, little dogs, cats, foals, baby birds. All of them carried a certain fragility, as if they were waiting for something that had not yet been fulfilled. They were souls that had been abandoned on earth, creatures that had been beaten, forgotten, or had never truly felt what real love was. But what moved me the most was not the sadness in their eyes, it was the unwavering hope. Though they had endured pain, betrayal, and rejection, not a single soul among them bore resentment. All of them waited patiently, their eyes shining with a pure longing to return to the world once more, to love and to be loved as God had intended. I saw little dogs wagging their tails joyfully whenever an angel passed by, as if begging to be sent down to earth to become the companion of someone lonely. I saw playful foals yearning to run across real green fields, longing to bring joy to a child. I saw little birds chirping eagerly, as if pleading to carry songs of hope back to a world growing colder and darker. Jesus turned to me, his eyes filled with both gentleness and solemnity. "Louise," he said, "every spirit here is a part of my redemptive plan. They do not come to possess, they do not come to harm, they come to heal broken hearts. When a person opens their heart to receive them with love, not only is one creature rescued, but a part of that person's own soul is also healed." I looked into that valley, where the tiny souls still waited with patient hope, and my heart felt as if it would break. I understood then, true love never dies. It does not end when a little creature is abandoned. It only waits for the day it can be given again, in a new form, with a new chance to heal this broken world. In that stillness, I heard the soft whisper of 1,000 little spirits. Please give us another chance, to love, to sacrifice, to soothe broken hearts. We are ready. The last thing I saw was Noah, still wounded but alive. Then I woke up. The days following the accident were a whirlwind of pain, fear, and hope. I spent weeks in the hospital as my body struggled to heal, but my mind was elsewhere, trapped in a cold room where a single question echoed relentlessly: would Noah survive? The veterinarians were doubtful. The impact had been too severe and his condition was critical, but Noah did not give up. He lay still, teetering between life and death. Every night I prayed with all my heart, "Lord, you sent him to save me. Please don't take him away." Day after day passed, and then one morning as I sat beside him, my eyes heavy with exhaustion, my voice cracked from weeping, I felt something. A slight movement, a deeper breath. Then slowly Noah opened his eyes. His pupils found me, faint but present, and in that moment when our eyes met, I felt a surge of strength rise within my heart. He was still here. The doctors said the road to recovery would be long and difficult, but for me, it was already a miracle. "You did it, Noah." We did it. In that moment, I understood that his battle was mine, our pain was shared, and our healing would happen together. Months passed, and Noah returned to life. He was no longer the same. The scars of that terrible night were etched into his body, but his spirit, that precious spirit, remained intact, even stronger, even more radiant. Yet, time passes for everyone. A few months ago, I faced the hardest challenge of all, the one I knew would eventually come but still hoped to delay a little longer. Noah had grown old. His steps became slower, his eyes more tired, but he never left my side. He followed me everywhere, always present, always alert, just as he had been his entire life. Then one morning, as I took him outside for his physical therapy, it happened. Noah stopped. He looked at me, and with extraordinary effort, he wagged his tail and took a few steps on his own. I knelt before him, tears streaming down my face. "I'm here, my friend." He looked at me, and in his eyes I saw everything. Love, gratitude, the sorrow of saying goodbye, but also peace. He knew his time had come. "I love you, Noah. Thank you for everything." With one final effort, he wagged his tail, as if to say he loved me too, that he was ready. Then he closed his eyes, his body relaxed in my arms, and I realized he was gone. I don't know how long I stayed there, kneeling, my face buried in his fur, as my tears fell without end. The pain crashed over me like a giant wave, suffocating and draining me of all strength. Was it really over? God had sent him when I had lost everything. He had been my sign of rescue, my companion, my light. He had saved me when I no longer wanted to live, and now he was gone. I held him one last time. "Thank you, Noah. Thank you for loving me more than I ever deserved." The pain was unbearable, but I remembered the words of Jesus, "In my kingdom, nothing you have loved will ever be lost." I closed my eyes and let those words wrap around me. And in that moment, in the midst of my despair, I felt a deep and profound peace. Noah had not truly left. He would never leave. Now, every morning when I wake up, Noah's spot beside my bed remains empty. But his spirit is everywhere. In the memories I carry in my heart, in the moments when I still feel his presence beside me, in the certainty that one day, when God calls me home, I will see him again. And we will run together, without fear, without pain, forever. After everything I have been through, after seeing the truth with my own eyes, I know I cannot stay silent. This message is not just for me, but for anyone who has ever suffered, who has loved and lost, for all who have ever looked into the eyes of an animal and found in them comfort, hope, and pure love. Jesus showed me that animals are not just companions. They are not accidents or mere accessories to life. They are divine gifts, instruments through which God speaks to us, strengthens us, and leads us through our darkest moments. Noah was not just a dog. He was a sign from God, sent directly to me. And the truth is, God sends these signs to many. But how many of us recognize them? How many realize that the loyal eyes looking at us each day are not merely creatures of the earth, but living proof of divine love? How many times do we overlook the value of a simple act of affection, of a silent yet steadfast presence, without realizing that right beside us is the very sign we have been searching for? When I found Noah, I thought I was saving him. In reality, he was saving me. God knew I needed him, just as he needed me. He had been wounded, abandoned, cast aside by the world, just as I had felt after losing Aurora. Our pain intertwined, and without even realizing it, we became each other's support. It was no accident. It was God's design. Animals are not objects or property to be discarded at will. They are precious creatures entrusted to us to love, respect, and protect. The Bible makes it clear, God cares for them and He watches over every living creature, no matter how small, because all life has value. If God Himself tends to them, how can we allow ourselves to mistreat, abandon, or disregard them? Every time an animal suffers because of human cruelty, it is as if a part of creation is wounded. But every time we welcome, care for, and love them, we are responding to a divine calling. If there is an animal in your life that loves you, waits for you when you come home, follows you everywhere, do not see it as just a companion. It is a sign. It is God's way of telling you that you are not alone. And if you do not yet have such a creature by your side, if you feel an emptiness, do not despair. Perhaps your sign has not yet arrived. Perhaps there is a soul out there that needs you, just as you need it. My experience taught me that when a person endures deep pain but remains steadfast in faith, a sign of rescue, a mark of hope, will be sent from heaven. A pure soul chosen by God to lift them up in the darkness and to walk with them on the path of faith. I did not know Noah was my sign until I looked back and clearly saw the path God had drawn for us. Perhaps there has been a Noah in your life. Perhaps there is a Noah with you now, or a Noah who will come. But do not miss the signs. Do not underestimate the value of silent love, of steadfast companionship, of a comforting presence that requires no words. Jesus showed me that in His kingdom, nothing that has been loved is ever lost. The time we spend with them is never wasted. The bond we share does not vanish in death. Noah has left my side, but I know I will see him again. I know that one day, when God calls me home, I will find him waiting for me, and this time we will run together, without fear, without pain, and without the limits of time. If there is one message I wish to leave behind in this life, it is this: animals are a gift from God. They are entrusted to us to help, to love, and to teach us the purest meanings of loyalty and compassion. Do not overlook this gift. Do not waste the opportunity to become for them what they are for us, a reflection of God's love on earth. Do you have a little animal friend in your home? If so, you might be more blessed than you realize, because many believe that pets are your child from the next life. They missed you so much, they asked God to come to this world earlier in the form of a small, furry being, carrying a love that expects nothing in return. But what happens after death? Do these small, loving creatures still exist beyond the grave? The story of the man you're about to hear will change the way you see your pet forever, because during his near-death experience, he came face to face with his furry child once again. But what truly stunned him wasn't the reunion, it was the shocking truth God revealed right after. So what was that truth? Watch until the very end, because the message in this story could change the way you love for the rest of your life, and you could be the reason someone chooses to keep going. And you're watching Eternal Bible Stories, where real near-death experiences are shared to awaken faith and illuminate the soul. Before we begin, I just want to take a moment to thank all of you amazing people who have subscribed to this channel. I truly believe we have the most meaningful communities on YouTube. Now let's enter the next near-death experience. For many years, I lived with a heart rhythm condition, enduring its sudden and unpredictable changes. I thought it would never be cured, especially since I was already 66 years old at the time. My health was fragile, not only because of the heart issue but also due to chronic pneumonia. I felt so hopeless that it was as if I were merely waiting for the day I would die, expecting nothing more to come. However, my battle took an unexpected turn on a fateful night in October 2021, when I was thrust into the depths of a severe heart attack. Every breath became a struggle, as pain spread across my chest and my body shook uncontrollably. It felt like a massive weight was pressing down, crushing the life out of my frail body. In that desperate moment, I reached for the phone on the bookshelf. With trembling hands, my fingers dialed 911 in a frantic race against time. The distant wail of the ambulance siren pierced through the night, signaling the arrival of the paramedics, those who would become my lifeline. My wife came home from work at that exact moment, her face a mix of shock, worry, and panic. She cried uncontrollably, screaming, "Honey, what's wrong with you? Oh no, please save my husband." The paramedics quickly placed me on a stretcher, their expressions a blend of urgency and determination. Their skilled hands worked in perfect coordination to stabilize my critical condition. I clung to the faintest hope for life as the ambulance sped through the city streets. Each moment passed like a fragile dance between life and the unknown. The paramedics worked tirelessly, their voices calmly reassuring me in the midst of the chaos that was overwhelming my body. They placed an oxygen mask over my face to help me breathe. Time seemed distorted inside the ambulance, the outside world blurring into a swirl of colors and sounds, and my wife prayed silently, her voice a beacon of hope amid our rising fear. At last, we arrived at the emergency room as the ambulance came to a screeching stop. My consciousness was slipping, and as the boundary between life and death grew thin, I knew I was about to die. Everything faded to black, and the last thought that crossed my mind was, "Thank you, Lord, it's over." Yet instead of fear, pain, or breathlessness, I felt calm and peaceful. To my surprise, when I opened my eyes again, I found myself standing before a large and mysterious tunnel. At first, the tunnel was cloaked in a mystical darkness, but as I moved deeper, the walls seemed to vibrate with a strange vitality, emitting a faint, shimmering light that surrounded me and stirred my curiosity. As I ventured further, the boundaries of time and space seemed to dissolve, and I felt completely detached from the earthly world. Passing through the tunnel, I experienced a profound sense of healing and cleansing. It was as if a spiritual energy was flowing through me, purifying my soul from all lingering pain, fear, or attachment. The tunnel transformed into a conduit of transcendent beauty, a gateway to realms beyond human understanding. At the end of the tunnel, a brilliant light greeted me, overwhelming in its radiance. It radiated warmth, love, and an indescribable peace. The light beckoned me forward, drawing me gently into its glowing embrace. As I stepped out of the tunnel and into the light, I felt an intense harmony with its divine source. It was a merging of energies, a reconnection with the eternal essence that exists within us all. In that moment, I realized the power and limitless potential of the soul. I wasn't entirely certain, but I held a deep belief that this was the very spark of God dwelling within us. In this transcendent state, I felt a presence beyond all understanding, an overwhelming divine connection that transcended language and action. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing the interconnectedness of all things across the vast expanse of the universe. In this deep communion, the knowledge of the cosmos seemed to be granted to me. I absorbed it without the need for words. The lessons from God unfolded not through speech, but through direct knowing. Every action, every thought, echoed in the grand symphony of creation, affecting the lives of others in ways I had never imagined. I saw the intricate weave of all living beings in the vast tapestry of the universe. And then, slowly, I became aware that this presence, this divine force I was immersed in, was not merely an energy, but a being, a consciousness, a heart. I could sense the approach of something greater, something deeply personal. The light that surrounded me began to shift. It grew warmer, more intimate, and from within it a form began to emerge, not in a physical sense, but in a way my soul recognized instantly. It was him. I didn't need to ask. Every fiber of my being knew I was in the presence of God. I didn't see a face in the way we perceive faces on earth, but I felt his essence, majestic yet gentle, vast yet close, powerful yet overflowing with compassion. Standing there, or rather being there, with him I felt seen in a way I had never experienced. He knew everything about me, every fear, every hope, every time I failed and every time I tried to love. And yet, there was no condemnation in his gaze, only love, pure, all-encompassing, and holy. In his presence, I received a profound understanding of love, compassion, and perfect unity. Suddenly, I no longer saw myself as an isolated individual, but as a vital thread woven into the fabric of existence. I realized that even the smallest acts of kindness and compassion ripple throughout creation, touching lives and igniting transformation. At the same time, I came to understand the inherent value and sacredness of every human soul. No longer bound by judgment or prejudice, I embraced the diversity of life and saw clearly that the pain of one is the pain of all, and that true compassion transcends the self. Love became the guiding force in how I was to interact with the world. It was a power that uplifted and healed, erasing the illusions of separation and nourishing unity. With every act of love, we raise the collective consciousness, planting seeds of peace and harmony, not just in others, but within ourselves. In that holy moment, I understood. This was not simply a vision or a metaphor, it was a revelation, and the one who revealed it to me, God himself, was calling me to return, not to be perfect, but to live with purpose, humility, and love. As I soaked in these profound lessons, the Lord led me to a vast and peaceful meadow, adorned with vibrant green grass swaying gently in a serene breeze. In the distance, a mesmerizing scene called to me, shimmering through a thin veil of mist, glowing with radiant light made of millions of sparkling particles. There I noticed gentle creatures moving gracefully, radiating peace and beauty within the soft white haze. And then a familiar figure emerged. It looked like a small dog. As it moved closer, my heart stopped. I was stunned to realize it was my dog, the beloved companion who had left my side 3 years ago after a painful illness. He had once been my closest friend, a small pup who offered comfort and unconditional companionship during the darkest days of my life. When he passed away 2 years earlier from a severe illness, I was devastated. His death felt like a foreshadowing. I sensed that I too would soon be overcome by the heart disease and chronic pneumonia that had worn me down for years. The grief from his absence mingled with the despair over my failing health, and I was overwhelmed by a darkness filled with loneliness and the unshakable fear of death. And yet here he was, alive, vibrant, his eyes sparkling with the same joy I remembered. It felt utterly impossible. He ran toward me with the same familiar excitement, his little legs bouncing across the lush green meadow. He leapt into my arms and pressed against me just as he used to every evening when I came home weary and discouraged from illness. His soft fur brushed against my hands, and the warmth of his small body spread through me. A deep, indescribable joy surged in my heart. I fell to my knees, holding him tightly as tears streamed. In that moment, I wished for nothing more than to lie down in that heavenly field beside him, to let the gentle wind sweep over us, to lose myself in the breathtaking beauty around me. A place I knew in my soul was heaven on the other side, a place with no more pain, no more sickness, only peace, love, and eternity. As I looked into my dog's clear, shining eyes, something shifted. There were no words, no sounds, yet his gaze carried a silent, profound message. Suddenly, the space around me began to blur. The heavenly meadow faded, and I felt myself being pulled somewhere else, as if my dog was now guiding me through a journey of the soul. He walked ahead of me, his tiny paws treading gently, leading me through a series of vivid visions from my past, each moment playing like a living film, wordless yet undeniable. The first scene took me back to a rainy afternoon. I was curled up on the couch, clutching my chest through a sudden heart episode. My dog lay beside me, resting his head gently on my leg, eyes filled with sorrow, as if he understood my pain. But lost in despair, I snapped and shoved him away. "Get out of here! I don't need you!" I remembered the bitterness, not at him, but at my own weakness. He retreated to the corner of the room quietly, curling into a ball. No resentment in his eyes, only patience, only love. Now, watching it from this place of clarity, I felt my heart ache. I hadn't recognized the unconditional love he offered, or the way he tried to carry my pain with me. When the gentle but meaningful eyes of my dog guided me through past memories, a particularly vivid and clear scene appeared. So clear I felt as though I was reliving every second of it. It was a cold winter evening in our small home. The light from an old desk lamp cast a faint yellow glow over my wife's face. I lay curled up on our old bed, a thin blanket unable to shield me from the bone-deep cold or the stabbing chest pain every time my heart beat out of rhythm. My frail hand pushed away the brown bottle of medicine she had just placed on the small bedside table, my voice sharp, almost hissing through clenched teeth. "I'm not taking it. Stop forcing me. Leave me alone." But now, in this supernatural realm, I didn't just see myself in that moment of irrational anger. I saw her, truly saw her, with everything I had missed while alive on Earth. She stood there, her small hands trembling as she clutched the bottle like it was the last sliver of hope she could hold on to. Her eyes shimmered with tears, but she quickly blinked them back to keep them from falling in front of me. The familiar smile, one I had always believed was the symbol of strength and endless joy, was now gone, replaced by a face etched with anguish, her lips pressed tightly as if to hold back a painful sob. She turned around and walked out of the room slowly, her shoulders slightly hunched as if bearing an invisible burden I had never noticed. Through the half-closed door, I heard her whisper to herself, so softly I would never have noticed in life, "I have to stay strong, for him, for both of us." Her voice was no longer the cheerful tone I was used to. It trembled, lost, like wind passing through an empty, cold house. Then the scene shifted, like an old film rewinding to reveal details I'd never seen before. I saw her in our tiny kitchen late one night when I had fallen into an exhausted sleep after another day battling pain and despair. The dim light from the ceiling lamp cast a shadow over her as she sat alone at our worn wooden table. In front of her was a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. Her hands gripped it tightly, as if trying to draw some warmth to thaw her frozen. Her eyes, red and glistening, stared into the void. On the table lay a small open notebook. I recognized it. It was where she kept track of my doctor's appointments, scribbled notes about medication, times, and detailed records of each time I refused treatment. One wrinkled page stood out clearly, the handwriting shaky. He didn't take his medicine again today. Does he not want to live anymore? What am I supposed to do? A tear rolled down her cheek and fell onto the page, smudging the blue ink, leaving a blotched trail like her chaotic emotions at that moment. I felt my heart tighten, as if being squeezed by an invisible hand. It was the first time I had ever seen her cry, not those fleeting tears of exhaustion after a long day, but deep, wrenching tears born from helplessness in the face of my despair. I remembered those days on Earth. To me, she had always been the unshakable woman. Even when she had to work cleaning friends' homes to help pay medical bills, even when she stayed up late trying to coax me into taking my medicine despite my angry refusals, even when she patiently took me to checkups while I snapped, "What for? I won't live much longer anyway," she was always there. Always with a warm smile and a gentle voice. "You'll get better. I believe in you." We'll get through this. I believed that was the truth, that she never broke, that she was a fortress against all the suffering I brought. But now I saw the truth. Behind that smile was a broken heart, a soul weighed down with depression and anxiety, torn apart by the helplessness of watching me give up on myself and on her. Another scene appeared, more profound and painful. It was an early morning. I lay in the hospital bed, my body aching so much I didn't want to open my eyes. The machines beeped steadily beside me, and the air was heavy with the smell of antiseptic. I heard her talking on the phone in the hallway outside, her voice cheerful and lively as always. "Yes, he's doing well today. He's in good spirits. Thank you for asking." I believed her. I thought she really was optimistic. But when she hung up, I saw what I never had in life. She walked into the corner of the hallway, sat on an old plastic chair, buried her face in her hands, and her shoulders shook with silent sobs. "He doesn't want to live anymore. What do I do?" she whispered to herself, her voice breaking with despair. She had lied on the phone, not to deceive anyone, but to protect me, to preserve a sliver of hope in me that she herself was losing. She was afraid that if I saw her sadness, I'd spiral even deeper into the darkness I had created for myself. Then I saw another afternoon. She had just returned from work, her hands smelling of soap from cleaning someone else's house. She walked into the room, placed a bag of newly bought medicine on the table, her voice soft. "Honey, the doctor said this might help ease your chest pain. Would you try it?" I growled, turned my face to the wall. "Don't waste money. I don't need it." She said nothing, just stood there quietly for a moment, then walked out. But now I saw what happened after that. She went out to the backyard, sat on the cold steps, her arms wrapped around her knees, her empty eyes staring into the grey sky. A cold wind blew, tousling her hair, and she whispered, "If he doesn't want to live, what am I living for?" That voice held no energy, only emptiness and exhaustion from someone who had given everything and still couldn't change the outcome. Those images pierced me, each one like a razor slicing into my heart. I had never seen her sadness, depression, or helplessness while I was alive. Not because she didn't feel those things, but because she had hidden them so perfectly. She wasn't just my caregiver, she bore the pain I refused to face. Every time I rejected medicine, every time I screamed that I wanted to die, I wasn't just rejecting life, I was pushing her deeper into a darkness she never let me see. I had been selfish, thinking I was the only one suffering, that she was strong enough not to need my concern. But now I knew she wasn't superhuman. She was human, with a heart that could ache, cry, fear, and she had sacrificed everything to keep me alive. I looked at my dog. Its bright, clear eyes still silently watched me, not judging, not accusing, but like a mirror reflecting the truth I needed to face. Through those eyes I saw more clearly than ever. My wife didn't just sacrifice time and effort, she gave up her joy, her hope, her peace, just to stay by my side. Every smile she gave was a mask hiding her tears. Every word of encouragement was a battle to overcome her fear of losing me, a fear I had never even considered. My despair didn't just destroy me, it silently hurt the woman who had devoted her whole life to loving and protecting me. Tears streamed down my face, hot and uncontrollable, falling onto the ground. I whispered, choked by emotion, as if speaking to myself, or to her, even though she couldn't hear. "I'm sorry. I didn't know you suffered this much. I didn't know you hurt like I did." I wanted to return right then, to run to her, to hold her, to take her hand and promise I would never give up again, not just for me, but for her, for the love she had quietly preserved through all the days I had unknowingly hurt her. In that moment, I understood. Life isn't just about surviving illness. It's about living in a way worthy of the tears she hid, the sleepless nights she endured, and the heart that kept beating for me, even when I refused to let mine beat for myself. I knelt down, hugging my dog tightly, feeling its warmth like a reminder of all that I had missed. I knew I couldn't stay here forever. I had to go back, not to live in the shadow of despair, but to repair what I had broken, to cherish the woman who gave me everything, and to live a life where she would no longer have to cry alone in silence. Another scene appeared. I saw my dog in his final days, lying weakly on the floor, his breathing slowing due to illness. I sat beside him, gently stroking his fur, but deep inside I was thinking, he's dying, and I'll be gone soon too. I had let the despair of my own illness overshadow the grief of losing him, the companion who had stayed by my side through so many difficult years. He lifted his head and looked at me one last time before closing his eyes, as if he wanted to say something, but I didn't understand. Now, seeing it again through his guiding eyes in this realm, I realized he wasn't just a dog, he was a part of me, a reflection of the life I had failed to cherish. The images stopped. My dog stood before me, his clear, bright eyes holding no blame, but inviting me to look deeper within myself. Those memories weren't shown to judge me, but to teach me. I realized that my life hadn't just been made of illness and despair, it was also filled with missed opportunities to love, to appreciate those who stayed beside me. I saw my dog's patience, my wife's quiet sacrifices, and I understood that I had let pain and selfishness blind me to the value of those things. Tears streamed down my face, not from sorrow, but from awakening. My dog gently licked my hand, just like he used to when comforting me, and I felt a profound healing in my soul. I knew I couldn't stay here. I had to return, not to keep living in despair, but to make things right, to cherish and to love in the way my dog had shown me through those wordless memories. In that moment, God's lessons echoed within me. Thoughts and intentions are not fleeting concepts, but powerful forces that shape the very structure of our reality. The energy we emit through our thoughts carries weight. It affects not only our experiences, but also the lives of those around us and the collective consciousness of humanity. That realization was staggering, but I understood the profound truth in those words. The images revealed both my struggles and the toll my illness had taken on me, but they also unveiled the transformative power of thought and intention. They reflected how my own negative energy had affected not only my life, but also the lives of those around me, especially my wife. I realized that the key to healing and reclaiming life lay in harnessing the power of intention and cultivating a positive mindset. When our intentions are rooted in love, compassion, and kindness, they ripple outward through the web of the universe, creating a resonance that can uplift and transform humanity. Then, the voice of the divine echoed within me once more. It is not your time yet. As much as I longed to remain immersed in this heavenly realm, I reluctantly turned my gaze away. Suddenly, the scene around me became sharper and more focused. I began to notice blurred figures moving urgently around someone lying before me. Then I heard someone shout, 200, ready, clear, and I understood. It was a defibrillator. Astonishingly, the world around me grew more distinct. My senses began to reawaken. I felt a surge of warmth and vitality coursing through my veins. It was the moment I returned to life, and I remember thinking with quiet joy that I had just awakened from the most beautiful sleep I had ever known. As I regained consciousness, I found myself surrounded by a devoted medical team, and by my wife, her face filled with worry and her eyes swollen from crying too much. In that clear moment of awareness, I realized the profound value of life. Every second became a priceless opportunity to experience joy, love, and growth. I was overwhelmed with gratitude for the chance to continue my journey, to fulfill my purpose on earth and make a positive impact on others. In the days that followed, I began a path of self-care, resilience, and unwavering determination in the face of illness. I came to understand the importance of taking my prescribed medications regularly and adhering to the treatment plan my doctors had laid out. With each passing day, my wife remained by my side, a beacon of support, encouragement, and unending comfort. Her love and faith in me became an abundant source of strength, reminding me that I was not alone in this battle. And as my mindset grew more hopeful, I could see the joy return to her face day by day. I immersed myself in activities that brought joy and peace, whether it was spending time in nature, engaging in creative pursuits, or simply practicing mindfulness and meditation. Gradually, my condition began to stabilize, surpassing even the expectations of my doctors and my wife. They were astonished by my progress, especially after having witnessed firsthand the severe deterioration I had experienced in previous years. I could sense their disbelief as they carefully reviewed my medical reports, comparing them to past records, trying to comprehend this unexplainable transformation. But I knew the illness hadn't completely vanished. It was merely in a phase of remission. The doctor's surprised and encouraging remarks served as confirmation of the path I had chosen, reinforcing my belief that the human will, when combined with faith and a positive mindset, can overcome even the most terrifying and devastating health challenges. As I shared the profound insights that had been revealed to me during my near-death experience with my wife, I spoke passionately about the intricate tapestry of interconnectedness woven into the fabric of the universe. The energy we emit through our thoughts carries a profound weight, echoing far beyond the boundaries of our personal experiences. I came to understand that every action, every thought is like a ripple in the vast ocean of the cosmos, reverberating and responding within the core of our existence and our connection to others. I emphasized that this interconnectedness stretches far beyond our individual lives, reaching into the lives of others in ways we may never fully comprehend. I explained to my wife that our intentions and thoughts are not fleeting or insignificant, but powerful forces that shape the very nature of our reality. Our intentions carry weight and meaning that extend beyond our personal experience, influencing the lives of those around us and contributing to the collective consciousness of humanity. Our inner world projects its nature onto the canvas of the outer world, affecting the course of events and the experiences of both ourselves and others. With every word I spoke, I could see the light of understanding and curiosity growing in my wife's eyes as I shared this experience. She too was captivated by the profound meaning of our interconnectedness. Together, we shared a deep appreciation for the interplay between cause and effect, realizing that even the smallest actions or thoughts carry the potential to create a profound impact on the world around us. We both came to understand that we hold the key to a deep transformation, not only within ourselves, but also within the greater world. This story is one of the most deeply moving testimonies I've ever had the privilege to share. It made me realize something powerful. Sometimes the greatest acts of love are the quietest. The unspoken prayers, the suppressed tears, the gentle encouragement spoken through trembling lips. We often assume strength means never breaking, but true strength is choosing to love, support, and believe in someone even when it breaks you. If this story touched your heart like it did mine, I want to invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. What part moved you the most? Has someone ever carried you through darkness while hiding their own pain? By commenting, you're not just expressing yourself, you're becoming part of a community that believes in hope, restoration, and second chances. Your words might be the comfort someone else needs today. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to Eternal Bible Stories, where real near-death experiences awaken faith and illuminate the soul. Hit that like button if this message resonated with you, and share this story with someone who may need to hear it. May God bless you, and may His love surround your heart always.